Islanders' nightmare.
Day. Took 5 days for the test match to get spiced up, and it certainly did today. Australia winning by an innings and 18 runs. A famous victory for them today, demoralising for Pakistan. And that's the fall of wickets for Pakistan. Just look at those times. So 1:10 p.m, 2:18, 2:22, 3:05, 3:47, 4:44, 4:59, 5:09, and then 5:19 p.m.
Like a train timetable, isn't it?
It is 163 all out Pakistan. And that's the Australian bowling performance. And what a performance it was too. Led by Mitchell Starc. 4 wickets from 15 overs for him. 2 for Josh Hazlewood. 1 for Jackson Bird. And 3 for Nathan Lyon. A special mention to him, really, because he did set the ball rolling, albeit due to some terrible shots from the Pakistani batsmen. But you've got to get them, haven't you?
He did. And I said earlier, Nathan Lyon has this habit of doing it. His place is definitely under scrutiny. I'm not sure he's still going to play in Sydney. I don't think his bowling answered the questions that have wanted. Because I think Steve Smith would have kept him on regardless had he been really looking like taking the 5 or 6, but he was happy to take him off and turn to his seamers. So we've got that third test coming up in only a couple of days at Sydney. That should turn square there. Marcus North made a great point on the couch to us off air that if they're going to India soon, they've won this series, they should prepare a very turning wicket, a real turner, and pick 2 spinners. And I reckon that could be the only way Nathan Lyon gets a game next week.
Yeah, Pakistan yet to win the series in Australia. 11 test wins in a row for Australia against Pakistan. It's another one to chalk down to Pakistan. That's demoralising for them today. The manner of that loss today as well. Bearing in mind that Australia were batting in their first innings on the 5th day.
Well, let's break down the game. Pakistan batted 126 overs in the first innings. Australia batted 142. So that's like 270 overs, which brought out 17 wickets on a flat wicket. Pakistan have just been bowled out in 53.2 overs. You know, just blown away, mentally shot, some poor shots in there, but you have to say the last few wickets of Starc's bowling, that was outstanding. It really was. It was intimidating, great angles from around the wicket, bit of late movement, reverse swing. Starc did to Pakistan what Pakistan have done to many other teams for many years with the reverse swing, so it's great to watch.
We just realised, Marcus North, that you are the good luck charm for the Australian test side, because ever since Hobart, that disaster against South Africa, that series, they've won.
Yeah.
And they're winning well and convincingly.
That's good. I mean, talk about the confidence this young side has got from Adelaide and Brisbane. This is the one that'll really give them confirmation. Winning a game that probably not many people thought there was going to be a result.
A couple of us did.
Yeah, we did, yeah. you can hear them about the belief. They had that motto of today, you know, and I think that in a dressing room, you know, will hold them in good stead.
But the tone was set today, wasn't it, with Steve Smith and Mitchell Starc batting and really just putting Pakistan to the pump?
Well, yeah, I mean, the day went as we expected from that point of view. We knew they'd bat and look to up the scoring rate. It went perfectly for Australia, with Mitchell Starc just smashing it out of the ground, getting that 80-odd. He was brilliant. And we knew that there'd be a little bit of a bowl before lunch. We expected a wicket because of sort of the fatigue factor for the Pakistanis. I think, for me, the massive wickets of the day, the turning points, Misbah as the leader, a dreadful dismissal, getting caught sweeping second ball. It was just truly awful. It's like schoolboy stuff. And then for me, Asad Shafiq, when he went down the wicket to line, that handsome catch, he's someone who could have stayed there for the rest of the day with Ali at the other end. As soon as he got out, you just sensed it. They were 5 down. The bowlers coming next. You just thought, this is a real Everest for Pakistan.
You get 624. You've only got 68 overs to try and force the win on the last day. On an absolute road. This pitch didn't do a great deal. There's a bit of reverse swing there towards the last 20 overs, but nothing really went off the straight. And to win a game of cricket like that with a young set of players will give their confidence a huge boost.
A sensational victory for Australia. Where does this put Pakistan for the next game then in Sydney? How do they regroup?
Oh, they're going to struggle. You know, that's going to be a very, very difficult defeat to swallow. You know, Mickey Arthur and the backroom staff will have to try and pick them up. You know, they'll go into New Year and prepare as best as they can. But Pakistan, we know that when they're good, they're really good, and it wouldn't surprise me if they turn up to Sydney and play some really good test cricket.
Ali Mitchell should be joining us now on the pitch at the MCG. Ali, the atmosphere there, the people were let in for free, weren't they, this afternoon? And what an occasion it turned out to be.
Oh, they were rewarded, weren't they, for opening up the gates. So just before tea, when word went out that it was free entry into the MCG for this last session with Australia hunting for a victory, the crowd were pressed up to the turnstiles, waiting for the moment when the gates would be open, they'd be able to come in. It was like racehorses in the stalls, waiting to race into the G and take their seats. But boy, what an evening session they saw. And Stark, when he's bowling like that, sometimes it takes him a little while, or has in this match, to really work up to speed. But when he was coming in around the wicket and smashing the stumps as he was, it was a tremendous sight and one of the most unlikely victories, considering how much time was taken out of this match through the weather.
Hi Ali, it's Swanny. From a spinner's point of view, Nathan Lyon's back today, bowled beautifully for those 3 wickets. But Steve Smith didn't bowl him after tea. And there's been a lot of rumours flying around. Ashton Agar, from your tweet, has stayed behind in Sydney. Do you think he's guaranteed a place in the next test? Because it'd seem bonkers if he's not.
Well, he is Australia's most successful off-spinner. Whether he's deemed by his captain to be the best spin option for his team at this moment, there have certainly been times throughout this match where you'd say, well, Steve Smith has lost faith in him. I think Nathan Lyon's making all the right noises, as he would publicly, of course, saying, well, you know, Steve Smith is a very good captain. No, after tea, I was quite content to follow Mitch Stark's lead and watch him do all the damage. But you know, there must have been a little bit of him thinking, well, come on, I've just got the 2 main men out. I'm finding a little bit of bounce. It's troubling the batsmen. I've got the wind behind me for once. Keep me on. But publicly, at least, he's making all the right noises. But yeah, as far as Sydney goes, I think the feeling is probably that there will be 2 spinners in that side. But certainly with the inclusion of Agar, if that is confirmed and if that is the case, well then they've got 3 options potentially with O'Keefe, Agar and Nathan Lyon. So yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But Nathan Lyon, as you saw in the second innings here, when he can get a little bit of bounce and he can bowl the right lines, he can still dismiss top quality batsman.
And another little thing we've been discussing, Marcus North on the couch reckons that Peter Hanscom could possibly take the gloves for Sydney in place of Jamie Wade. Is there any talk of that in Australia?
That has been raised in the press room because of Marcus's tweet. It's done the rounds here. It's met with a little bit of surprise, but a few people saying, well, you know, I might quite like that idea, but doubt it'll ever happen. A couple of people have said, oh, Hanscom's not that keen to take the gloves at test level. So it's not something that's being widely thought of as a realistic proposition. But if you've got someone who's quite handy with the gloves, why not? But it's been a real point of discussion. Certainly the first hour or so of the day, it was all about the makeup of the side for Sydney, until, of course, the Pakistan wicket started tumbling. Then it became all about focusing on what an incredible win this could be, and will the Pakistan collapse happen? Of course it duly did. So I guess the focus during the day shifted a little more to the here and now rather than what will happen in Sydney. But once that test squad is named, then all the chat will once again be about what would be the final makeup of the 11 come the SCG.
Of course, I meant Matthew Wade, not Jamie Wade, who used to play for Northampton. Apologies.
Ali Varney here. What about the Pakistan perspective? How's Mickey Arthur going to pick his side up?
Mickey is an incredible optimist, but I think this will be quite a shattering defeat for Pakistan, given the way they batted in the first innings, given Azhar Ali's double 100, the position that they were in. Time was lost. There was a time when you thought, well, do you know what, perhaps it would be Pakistan who would bat on, score a big first innings and try and bowl Australia out twice. The way the tables have turned here, Pakistan, we know, have had a lot of recent collapses throughout their history, but this one I think will really hurt them. From Brisbane, it was strange, wasn't it, the way the team lost, but the manner in which they lost meant that Pakistan actually left the Gabba with their heads held high. Here they have lost. I think even if they're drawn, they would have also felt more as if it was a defeat. So really the way the match has turned around is going to be really bruising for Pakistan. The series is lost now, 2-0. They're going to have to pick themselves up to try and play for pride to win a test in Australia. It's now 11 test defeats in a row in Australia, so it's a record that doesn't make for good reading, and this will, I think, have quite a shattering effect on the side.
And Alison, I know you're close to the ground there. Misbah ul-Haq, he's really struggling in this series with the bat. Some of his tactics have been questioned. Is there any sign that it might be coming to an end for Misbah?
Well, we might get a better idea come Sydney, but the captain, I'm sure, will see out this series. But yeah, when he's not performing with the bat at all, it does sort of give added speculation, I suppose, as to how much longer he will last. And it'd be a huge sort of blow for Pakistan if the likes of Misbah and Yunus, who also hasn't had great time with the bat of late, were to both go. Maybe one or the other, but Misbah as captain and a shattering defeat as this will be, perhaps there might be a little more talk about that come Sydney, and we'll get a chance to see exactly what his demeanour is sort of in the wake of this defeat leading on to the New Year test.
Ali, thank you very much indeed. Let's go to the presentation now. Mark Taylor has that.
And you have to say today, Pakistan were beaten by some quality bowling, but they didn't really show a huge amount of fight.
Now, obviously the odds were against Pakistan. Their last win in Australia was November 1995, a test win that is, but it was the manner of the defeat today, wasn't it, Marcus?
Yeah, they'll be so disappointed because they showed so much fight and resilience in Brisbane, to nearly chase down that record total. They have another bad loss like this. We just talked about the game not so long ago in New Zealand where they had a bad loss, and I think this is now 5 test match losses in a row for Pakistan. So you can understand that Misbah is deflated, and his team will be too. We saw Australia in this similar position not so long ago where they made all those changes. So whether Pakistan will change their side a little bit, get a few guys in and give them an opportunity to try and freshen things up. But like Misbah said, he's got to prepare. They've got to try and forget it, dust themselves off and have another go.
We've said it before about them being one of the most enigmatic teams in Test cricket, really. When they're good, and when they're bad, they're terrible.
Oh, I can't remember what children's book, but when they're good, they're very, very good, and when they're bad, they are horrid. And they are horrid.
Horrid Henry.
Horrid Henry,
yeah, there we go. Yeah. But you've got to say, Azhar Ali, you have to feel for him. He has fought like a cornered tiger for this test match, scoring so many runs. But only him and, I reckon, Sarfraz actually batted with any purpose today. Looked like they really wanted to save that game. They weren't batting within their shells. And the rest of them have just not surrendered their wickets, but it was just bad thinking. They weren't going out there with any sort of grit between their teeth to really commit to either defending or attacking, and that's been their downfall, really.
If you actually think about Pakistan, they've been to New Zealand. Similar thing happened in Hamilton. Now in Australia, same things happened in the MCG. When you're on the tour for a long period of time and those kind of collapses happen, particularly when the pressure comes on the last day, it's very, very difficult to break that trend. So Sydney will be difficult. If you actually think about December as a month, I think there's been 5 times in the history of the game where a team has scored 400 in the first innings, yet ended up losing by an innings. England did it twice in India just a few weeks ago. Now Pakistan. I think you go back to 1930. Was it Sri Lanka? I don't know, it's on a piece of paper down here. So when Sri Lanka was back in 1930, so 5 times in the history of the game. So that's the kind of manner of the defeat that Pakistan has. England was 1930.
I said Sri Lanka weren't playing Test cricket then.
All right, well, it won't be then, will it?
Yeah.
And Sri Lanka in 2011. I knew Sri Lanka was one of the 5 teams, but England have been 3 of the 5. But it's happened 3 times in December 2006.
So many times in the history of the game. 8 times in the history or something, but then 3 in a month.
Yeah.
It's 2016. It's crazy, isn't it?
What do you do when you're on tour like this and you can't escape? How do you try and regroup without having to go home and actually...
It could take the pressure off Pakistan going into Sydney, because the series is gone now. So, right, let's get some pride. Let's salvage some pride. Let's, really up the ante. I think they'll be secretly hoping for a turning pitch. Well, Yasir Shah will definitely be hoping for a turning pitch because he's not had a good return. He's not enjoyed this test. He's just gone for 200 in that innings. So he'll be hoping for a turning pitch. I think the Aussies really should go down North's route, prepare an absolute Bunsen burner to give them a bit of practice before going to India, because they were hammered in Sri Lanka, and no matter how good or how well they've played for the last 4 tests, it's been their seamers who've done all the talking. They're not going to have much effect on those Indian pitches, and they're going to have to face Ashwin.
And Marcus, would you keep the same team for Sydney with Australia?
Well, I think now that they're winning, that's 3 wins in a row, it's hard to change a side. I guess if you're looking at bringing somebody in, you want to make sure that, well, we're pretty sure they're going to make the team better. Whether they need to look at their balance. One, is it going to be a spinning wicket? Do you bring in another spinner? Or do you bring that Hilton Cartwright who's been in the squad in as an all-rounder for Maddinson? So there's a couple of options they've got, but, they're winning side. You don't normally want to change.
OK. And what about Lyon's future, then? In that post-match interview, which we saw about 10 minutes or so ago, he didn't look that excited, did he?
Well, I kind of got the view from that he really doesn't like Steve Smith at the minute, and because he kept saying Steve Smith's brilliant, Steve Smith's a great captain, we're behind him, but it was almost like, hey, why isn't Steve Smith bowling me? I got 3 wickets, I bowled brilliantly today, and you took me off at tea time. And even though he's publicly championing his captain. I think he should have a beer with him. Say, look, what is it about me you don't like? I'm bowling out of my skin today, and you took me off. I honestly think that game would have finished half an hour before had he been allowed to continue from one end. It was always going to reverse from the other. And that's where Mitchell Starc could have bowled. And in the end, it looks like brilliant captaincy that he's taken off the spinner and Mitchell Starc's come on. But after tea, the spin should have started and the pressure was just there. And the game could have finished very quickly, I think.
Reasons to be cheerful for Pakistan? Anything they can clasp onto for the final test?
I think we're clutching at straws if you want to be cheerful about that. I mean, Azhar Ali, fantastic throughout the game. I do think they've got a group of players that are very, very competitive, but they're just too consistent in producing performances like we've seen today. These two said it last night, well, it's Pakistan, could quite lose tomorrow. I was like, well, yeah, but surely not on a pitch like that. But then again, they did it in Hamilton a few weeks ago, they've done it at the MCG, and that's been Pakistan cricket for as long as I've known it, that they have had these kind of days that come from nowhere. Could go to Sydney and produce magic, but they could also go to Sydney and be blown away, and that's probably something that Mickey Arthur will be trying to put his finger off. Why does that keep happening? It's just the mental side of the game that they've got to work on.
Well, maybe Mickey Arthur needs to get a good performance out of his team to keep his job. Notorious for sacking coaches when things go bad. They were #1 in the world earlier this year that Mickey Arthur took the credit for, but very good, a bit like football teams, aren't they? The Pakistani team. They'll soon get rid of the coach and he'll be stood next to Waqar Younis in the commentary box.
Probably Waqar Younis' coach.
They were bowled out for 163 in 53.2 overs. Let's have a look back at all the wickets. The first wicket,
They're smashing Australia into a position where they could possibly win the game, and then taking those 4 wickets. Brilliant for me, but 163 all out in just 53.2 overs, like Vaughan said, on that wicket, when with only one partnership over 50, and and Amir and Safraz doing one of the best partnerships right way down there. So incredible from Australia.
really strong from Australia. That bowling performance, superb. 4 wickets for Mitchell Starc, 2 for Hazlewood, 1 for Jackson Bird and 3 for Nathan Lyon. 163 all out, and that's the confirmation of the match. 4-4-3 declared for Pakistan, played 6-2-4 for 8 declared for Australia, and then Pakistan 163 all out. Australia winning by an innings and 18 runs, and they win the series. So there's one more match in this series to play, and they've just got to try their best, Pakistan, and try and salvage some pride, haven't they?
Yeah, they have, but Australia just got to keep with the momentum. They've now won 3 on the bounce, playing some good cricket. The changes have worked for Australia, bringing a bit of youth into that top 6 and brought a new direction, probably a little bit of a kick up the backside to a few in the side that were already in it, to say, right, you've got to start performing that little bit more consistently, and they look like they're together. Teams that win always look a tighter unit, don't they? Put full credit to Australia, they made some good changes.
You didn't believe this would happen today, Michael Vaughan, did you?
Well, no, not on that pitch. He still needs digging up. Terrible Test match wicket over 5 days.
I'm glad we did.
But you two did, and I was with you as well. I thought something magic might happen today, and it certainly did. Loads of other brilliant cricket action all across BT Sport. In an hour's time, actually, on BT Sport 2, Brisbane Heat versus Hobart Hurricanes. That's today at 8 a.m. Adelaide Strikers versus Sydney Sixers, Saturday at 8 a.m. There's a big double-header on Sunday. Melbourne Stars versus Melbourne Renegades at 7 a.m. Perth Scorchers versus Sydney Thunder, 10:15 a.m. And the Hobart Hurricanes versus Adelaide Strikers on Monday at 8 in the morning. Well, well, well. We said there may well be a twist or two, and there certainly was one. The rain and a flat pitch meant this match certainly looked like it would end in a draw, but the last 53.2 overs of the game saw Pakistan blown away for just 163, which has seen Australia go into an unassailable 2-0 lead in the series. Join us for live coverage of the first day of the third and final test on Monday night at 11 p.m. on BT Sport 3. And if you missed any of today's action, we've got the highlights coming up right away on BT Sport 3. So don't go anywhere. It was a belter.